Hello, and today we're going to have a scenario where civilization starts over. Let's get into it. This is season 2, episode 27, and we'll get right into it. So, last episode, many things happened, and well, yeah, lots of expansions into Asia. India is giant, and we have a colony over here in Tanzania, which is interesting. But also, let me show you religions. I finally updated these things. And they're still messy from last episode. Look how messy this is. This is insane. This is insanity here in Europe. And it's gonna get more insane. But as you can see, the Chinese religion looks something like this, and the Indian religion looks like this, and this is the whole world religion map. Yeah. But now, let's get into the episode. And I think we want to start off with the Union over here in Asia. As these nations are going to unite into one singular Asian power here, and the reason for this is to have more influence, as they are kind of small compared to their neighbors, but they also control a pretty decent part of the trade route here, which is pretty useful for them. Speaking of trade routes, India is going to decide to update these things. Yeah. And let me turn on rivers real quick. There. As Indian trade routes would go up the Indus River, and slowly over time be built up here. And eventually this nation is going to start building their own trade routes down here, as they eventually over time will be connecting with these Indian trade routes, and the whole area looks like this. Yeah. Going to the alliance map, we can see that this little red nation thingy over here is going to actually decide to join the Star Alliance. Yep. As this nation, one of the reasons it even gained independence was because of India's, things going on in Central Asia. And this area was pretty weak before the Indians joined the war. So India, or the red thing, has a lot to thank of India. Yeah. And where should we go now? Let's go to Britain. As we're going to be seeing an invasion, or a few nations invading this little nation here. The British Union is going to start its invasion of this tiny thing here, and it's going to quickly take the capital city. But the Scottish aren't just going to let the British take all this territory that easily. So Scotland is going to go ahead and, alongside North Scotland, go ahead and take the rest of the territory. And peace treaty of this war. It's the treaty of the war, as South Scotland takes this territory, North Scotland takes this territory, and the British will be taking these territories. And while the British Union just got bigger, and the Scottish thing is decent and pretty large in size. But eventually, Ireland is going to decide to join the alliance that has been made by the Scottish nations, which is interesting. But let's go to the economic alliance layer. The Holy French Empire is interesting, but slowly over time the Holy French Empire has lost Anglo members. Switzerland has left the alliance, but the Germanicus are still the ruler of it, and both of these nations are going to be joining the economic alliance, and even the British will decide to join it. And the Holy French Empire is starting to regrow as an alliance. Yeah. We're going over here, we're going to be seeing the Scottish nations also form their own economical alliance with each other. And basically, all the military alliance members would be in this. And also, going over here, surprisingly enough, America is going to decide to join the Scottish Economical Alliance. Yeah. But the thing is, people don't really know what's going on in this whole Atlantic area. So how they trade with each other is they go through Greenland, through here, probably around these coastlines, and to America. Yeah. But now the Scottish are starting to go ahead and send explorers out to here, hoping to discover what's been going on in this giant region. But speaking of this region, we're going to go over here, as explorers are going to be able to go ahead and massively explore the Midwestern region of the North American area, and the explorations after a while will look something like this. Actually, these nations will connect in the entirety of modern United States, except you in Alaska. But before eventually discovered. Oh, I'll talk about it why later, and I'll probably never talk about them again. Yeah. But eventually these explorers are going to go up into these areas, specifically the Seattle nation, as it's going to make some pretty large expeditions up north. But these expeditions are still hard, considering that this is, well, Canada. And Canada, if you know, is a very harsh climate, so they won't be able to go far. But the Scottish will be able to go ahead and, fully explore this little lake area thing. They will also be able to discover this island here, which is interesting. And yeah, time they will be able to make their full journey up towards here, and eventually their explorations are going to look something like this. And well, it's pretty large, but well, you can't have explorations if you don't expand yourself. So start with the South Scottish expansions, which are going to be pretty large, as the South Scottish have expanded a lot across this, with this river being a pretty large boundary for it. And their little, colonial claim over here is going to look something like this, and even include these areas here, and this tiny area here that I forgot to color in. Yeah. The Scottish colony is going to be even larger, as it will span, going down to this river here, and eventually the explorations will be looking something like, or the colony will be looking something like this. Yeah. And well, these Scottish nations have made a pretty large impact in the Americas. And well, it's interesting I can say. Yeah. Let's go back to the mess that is called YA, or Afro-Eurasia thing, yeah. As you're seeing, this nation, this blue nation here, decided to join up with Egypt. This nation, the reason they decided to join up with Egypt is they wanted, more influence and more, economic support by Egypt. They didn't give too much economic support to that nation, and that nation wasn't a really large power in the world. So, to get more economic support by Egypt. Yeah. But let's go down to here now, as we're seeing something very interesting happening, as 3 countries will be invading this thing. The first nation is obviously the Italians. Makes sense, they want land. And they will be able to quickly start this invasion and take its capital city. And eventually the Egyptians will be invading, which makes sense. Yeah, that makes some sense. And then South Scotland invades into Sicily. And even North Scotland invades into Sicily. And that's interesting, and we can look at the peace treaty of this war. And since the peace treaty of the war, as this nation here is split and deleted off the map, interestingly enough. Yeah. But how are the Scottish even able to do this? How are they able to even make this little colony here? To put it simply, Catalonia is interesting, as they have decided over time to join the military alliance and the economical alliance of the Scottish, which is interesting. But eventually, the Scottish are going to make these Catalonian people give some ports to them. And well, basically the Scottish buy some ports from Catalonia. What happens to Catalonia? After the South Scottish will be taking this little port here and this port, and the North Scottish will be annexing this port and this tiny area here. But the reason why the Scottish were able to do this is because the Catalonians were collapsing, and they were looking to join the military and economical alliances of the Scottish. But the Scottish decided to use this to their opportunity and say, hey, if you want to join our alliance, you're going to have to give us some of your ports and major cities. And that was something that the Catalonians were willing to do, and they will be annexing these ports. Yeah, this is a very interesting thing. Yeah. And now Catalonia is getting a lot of support. A lot of, support from the Scottish, and the Scottish are able to bring boats in through here, and eventually go down here, build some boats over here, and send them down to Sicily. And that's how they were able to even do the whole Sicilian operation. But some nations don't really like the Scottish or what they're doing as well. Yeah, they're kind of expanding everywhere. They have a lot of colonies in North Iberia. They have colonies in Sicily. They have Norwegian, their Scandinavian colonies. They have Icelandic colonies. The colonies up here, and even Scotland. Yeah, obviously, and Ireland. But also they have the unknown Greenlandic and Quebecan colonies, which are making them even more powerful. So, a south country, that's name is Britain, is going to go ahead and make their own alliance in order to combat the Scottish. And now, what shape can I use? We have triangles, we have circles, we have squares, we have diamonds. What interesting shapes have we not used for military alliances? How about, yeah. In this little British military alliance here, it's going to gain a few members. Specifically, the Germanicus state is going to be here. And also the French state is going to decide to join it, and so will this state. And which is interesting as well, this is like holding this has a lot of similarities with the Holy French Empire military alliance. And the Polish are like, didn't you just violate the Treaty of World War Zero? And the British are like, nope, we didn't. This is a totally new thing, and they are correct, but the Polish don't really seem to agree with that. Yeah. Let's go down to Anatolia now. Specifically the Green Team has, the Green Team's ways were correct. And now countries are going to start invading the Green Team. Yeah. The Anatolian Union is going to enter their troops into the Anatolian territory of the Green Team and take this major city. But they will be having some issues pushing in down south. Do have some little pushes into here. In the Northern Territory, though, it's a completely different story. As the Green Team is just trying to evacuate as many of its military soldiers protecting this area as possible, as they are trying to protect the mainland. But there are some still being there to distract Ukraine and Bulgaria, and possibly Caucasia, but who knows how long that's going to last. As the Caucasians will start their own invasion here, and the Ukrainians start to push back into some ancient territory that they used to own. And while they go ahead and quickly be able to capture this major city using some coastal spearhead strategies, and go ahead and fully annex this territory. And eventually the Caucasians will start pushing in, as the Green Team has little to no troops in here, and the Anatolians have broken through their front line as they start charging towards the capital city through this river. But the people won't surrender. They believe that they could potentially win this war, which they know they can't, but they'll try. I think they're very nationalistic, and eventually the Green Team is going to go ahead and get very much encircled, and Caucasia is going to capture the capital city of Anatolia, or the Green Team. And it's the peace treaty of this war. The peace treaty of the war. Starting with Caucasia, they will annex this land from the Green Team, and this land in over here. The Bulgarians will be going ahead and annexing this piece here, and the Ukrainians will not be doing that. Annexing the entire rest of the Crimean area, reclaiming all territories, and eventually the rest of this is going to go ahead and not do that, but go ahead and go over to the Anatolian Union. And that was actually the oldest country in the world. Yep, that's a thing. Now the oldest country in the world is France. Yeah, France. That's interesting, I can say. But let's go over to the French region anyways. To be seeing the Italians. The Italians are going to start their invasion of this yellow country as they want more influence over this region. They will main focus in the south, where there's more rivers and more competition in major cities. But they will have a little target here on this major city and eventually capture it, and start pushing in on these front lines as they want to sort of take as much land as possible. As the Italians will go ahead and take the capital city of this nation, and the French are going to decide to jump in on the madness and start attacking this nation itself. Yeah, that's interesting. And well, yeah, this thing is just going to decide to surrender And we can look at the peace treaty of this war. It's the peace treaty of this war, and the Italians annex the southern half of this, and the French annex the northern half. But well, yeah, the capital city is gone. But also, this thing has its own thing on the religion map, which could be interesting. Seeing, yeah, this thing is still chaotic. I'll update it later. I don't want to show updating this religion map now, so I'm gonna do the whole updating religion stuff later. But let's go over here now to the Ukrainian region. As we'll be able to see, Ukraine go ahead and start their invasion of this nation. The Ukrainians want to reclaim all territory, or specifically their long-lost empire that they used to have, which is a thing, yeah. Go to the province. No, don't need the province later. The old empire the Ukrainians used to have, I think, looked roughly something like this. Yeah. And no, I can get a map. I up here, and as we can see, the entire thing, like the Ukrainian empire, looked like this. And just here's a Wixel map of episode 11 of the series, I believe. Yeah, this is very interesting to see. We can see the British are still here, and these Scandinavians. And yeah, this thing is interesting. Yeah, but let's get back to modern day. As we can see the little comparisons, we can see that the Ukrainian Empire has some modern day territory of this nation here. Yeah, the thing they're invading. But there's also some land in other areas that the Ukrainians do want, in fact. So they are going to go ahead and continue their invasion, and that's really why they want this land. So they're going to go ahead and take this major city pretty quickly and continue their ambitions as they target this one next and take it. They will go ahead and take this capital city here, and while the peace treaty of this war is going to be simple, as the thing is fully annexed, which is interesting, yeah. But let's update ideologies. If I can find the layer, their ideologies, and as I can see, Ukraine becomes a monarchy. Interesting, yeah. And by the way, partial dictatorship is extinct now. Yeah. But going over here, we can see some oligarchies are formed. One in India, and also one down here. Yeah. I haven't updated this in a while, but the British are oligarchy, and so the Finnish. Yeah. But also, let's just say, monarchy has grown. As Egypt is now a new monarchy, and so is Algeria, and even Italy is a monarchy, and even France. So while monarchy is starting to become a more growing ideology, as Russians are really pushing out this new ideology. And speaking of the Russians, we're going to be seeing the Russians expand. Just up here over here in St. Petersburg, I'm going to start the invasion of St. Petersburg. Kind of want this land back, as they want more like naval ports over here in the Baltic Sea. And so they want to reclaim old lands, just like Ukraine down south. Yeah. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to go ahead and, target this city and take this main capital city of the St. Petersburg nation. And fully annexing St. Petersburg, which is totally expected. Yeah. But this has been happening, and let's go down here to the Mesopotamian region. As we can see, Egypt is going to be invading Judea. Egypt will be entering their troops into Judea in order to attempt to take a lot of territory. But eventually the Mesopotamians, seeing this, are going to join in on the conflict in order to get back against one of the largest enemies. They don't like this nation. The original reason it's even here is it rebelled away from Mesopotamia, so obviously Mesopotamia doesn't like it. Yeah. And what's going to be happening is the Mesopotamians are filled with pride, wanting to retake their old lands. So they will be able to take more lands, but the Anatolian Union comes in and starts invading. But that's not going to stop Mesopotamia from capturing the capital city of this nation. And we're going to look at the peace treaty of the war. It's the peace treaty of this war. As the the Anatolian Union takes this land, the Egyptians will be annexing this land, and the Mesopotamians take a majority, including the capital city of Judea. And Judea is officially off the map. And well, as we can see, the Western Mediterranean Sea is getting a lot more united. It used to be pretty divided, and now it's pretty united? Yeah, I can definitely say that. Should we go now? Let's go here to Asia now. Let's go over here in this region. We're seeing some expansions of some nations, specifically the Dark Red Volga nation here. And well, the Dark Red Volga nation is going to go ahead and expand a lot around this river. And well, this current singular, this is what they look like now, which is pretty large. But Central Asia is also going to do the same thing, wanting to, expand. Considering their size and the size they were just certain size. They were just a lot larger before this happened. So yeah. But eventually the Russians are going to continue their expansion, as a rapid expansion over here in these regions, and actually be going ahead and climbing let me make a bit. And Russia goes from this to this. And yes, you can see Russia has grown. Yeah, a lot. And do you really need more expansion, India? I guess India wants more expansion, so that's what they're gonna get. Considering they're kind of large, but they're the strongest nation in the world, so that doesn't really matter. But also all these other nations here are going to expand themselves as well. These nations expand out too. So this red nation is going to expand out into all this territory, becoming pretty large. This large Mongolian nation here will be expanding out to this. Could probably fix some of these little border issues though. Yeah. This new orange union will be expanding to here. And the old Mongolian thing is gonna take, or Manchurian thing is gonna take this. Yeah. And well, Siberia has a lot of expansions in it. But notably, Korea hasn't expanded. And that's because Korea is doing a conquest in Japan, a conquest of the red nation here. As the Koreans make a landing over here in these Japanese isles, and quickly do their invasion of Korea, of the red Japanese nation, and eventually force the red Japanese nation to surrender, and be able to go ahead and fully annex the nation. Which looks something like this. Yeah. But let's go over still to Japan. It's having its own conflicts. As the nation has started its invasion of the Green Nation, and its goal is to take this little area here, push the green thing back to here, or just to its island. Team's gonna go ahead and take and conquest this land. If conquest goes well, as they annex the land. Yeah. And the orange team is scared. So, they're going to decide to, form a military alliance with another nation, and, I'll just use a lightning bolt. Sure, why not? Yeah. And, these two nations will be forming their own mini alliance here. But, I think I'm just going to represent it by, a defensive pact or something. Let's just say that. There, defensive pact. There. Yeah. But also, this defensive pact is going to include the blue team, surprisingly enough. And this is pretty large Japanese defensive pact. Yeah. And let's go over to Poland, Lithuania. I'm going to be seeing something big happen. As the Eastern Polish religious state breaks away from Poland. And that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's scenario where civilization started over. See you next episode where we continue a lot of things with the war. Or the war. Yeah. And look at this. Revolution. Bye!